Hey guys, it's OJ Williams here. We're at the final season premiere of HBO's Veep. We're interviewing everyone on the red carpet. Check it out. What was some of your inspiration behind creating the character and the show?
Well, I mean, I did a UK show called The Thick of It, which was, so the methodology, the style of it, I already had. But I think it took a long time, when HBO said they wanted a show, it took a long time to work out exactly where it should be set. We didn't want to do the president because that felt too big and, was that governor's mansion? Was that Congress? Where was it? And then I read this enormous biography of LBJ where what was stunning about it was how powerful a figure he was in the Senate when he was Senate Majority Leader, and then suddenly became this vice president, literally sitting at a desk, drumming his fingers, waiting for the phone call. And yet he could become president, which he did, So it's that so near and yet so far, and yet so near and yet so far, that gave it, I think, the comic dimension. And as soon as I read that, I thought, that's it.
It's so funny, the show started before the current president's tenure. Yeah. Do you think in any way the show has mimicked what's going on in the real world and vice versa?
Well, it used to be the show showed you things that this kind of thing that does happen in DC, but behind closed doors. I think the problem now is it's all happening in front of us. No one attempts to hide it anymore. Yeah. People are proud of it now. So and I think they've been wise to take Selena out of DC and see her trying to lead a life outside of politics. But she can't resist. She's got to get back in.
Did you predict that you guys be here 7 seasons later?
It's funny. There was no master plan, like in the sense of how long is this going to go? Right. But there just kept being more and interesting stories. And in some ways, the crazier politics got in real life, it behooved us to stick around and keep going.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you know? Like, you guys are so on the money.
We get a little lucky sometimes, but we work hard at it. We bring in what makes our show great, or one of the things I think that it does, is we do our research. We bring in lots of real politicians, real campaign workers, right, so that it's really feeling as real as possible. And then once it's real, then it can be funny.
This is true. What are you going to miss most about this crazy crew?
I'm going to miss those moments of being on the stage where I'm throwing out lines and they're throwing out lines and we're kind of just making each other laugh. In fact, ruining takes, but laughing. I'm going to miss laughing with them.
I really got to play someone that functions at a completely different tempo, has a completely different physicality. This year I got to wear this really insane wig, and the idea, I'm in a state of postpartum depression and it's supposed to look like I cut my hair myself, and it's just really fun to have things that feel very different from you, and I think that's ultimately what makes being an actor so exciting. So
I'm sure it's exciting. I can never predict where your character is going. Like, she's always a surprise to me. Like, what is she going to do next? Is it the same for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think because the part of comedy is just repetition and having characters do the same things that you always expect them to do. And I think by way of the age that Catherine is when she's introduced in the show, and also just her nature as a character, I think she has the most capacity to change. And I think has had the strongest probably evolution over time. And I think that continues in this season in subtle ways. You see her navigating being a new mother, and also I think you start to see little bits of Selena's parenting come through in moments when she's stressed. I mean, I think that this season the volatility and the meanness has definitely been ratcheted up, which is appropriate because of the current political landscape. So I hope it stands the test of time, not just as a comedy, but really as a satire or as something that's holding a mirror up and making a statement about people in positions of power that are narcissistic, petulant, ill-informed, and the real danger and fallout of that.
I mean, this show has been so much fun for you to do, playing, with all these amazing actors. Talk about working with this crew. I mean, you have some legends on here.
Yeah. I'm talking about Louis-Dreyfus, Matt Walsh, Gary Cole, Kevin Dunn, Tim Simons, Anna Klumsky, Reed Scott, Sarah Sutherland.
Keep going.
I could. Sam Richardson. That's my favorite. Just kidding. That's me. Clea Duvall. I could say the whole cast, and I could mean it for everyone. Everybody is. When they say when you look around, you're like, oh, who's the weak link? I can't find one. And you're like, uh-oh, it's me. That's how it feels every day coming to work, but in the best way, because you can learn from everybody you're working from.
So true. I was talking to everybody tonight. I can never predict what you guys are going to do next. Like, it's so hard. Like, even when I think I know, like, I don't know. Is it the same for you guys?
Yeah, it really is. Well, because we do have a heads up because we read the scripts.
Yeah.
Just that's the slightest heads up. Yeah. But honestly, at the table reads, when we're reading those things, we're like, whoa! It's this thing. We're never bored of it, because they always find a way to make this the most interesting, funny thing, while still staying true to the show and the script and staying grounded and real. It's an amazing feat.
You personally on the show have done a lot of crazy things. Mm-hmm. Is anything or a special memory for you while doing the show? Like, you're like, oh, that was outrageous. I'm never going to do that again.
Something I'd never do again. No, I think I'd do anything again. I think everything I'm like, yeah, that was fun.
I have my own theory about Jonah. I think he's going to end up the president. Okay. I know you can't tell me, but where do you think Jonah's going to end up in the end of the series?
I think I will say this. Jonah is somebody who has only cared about power and proximity to power his entire life. And his entire career has been marked by that. And he is a person that has no integrity. And so will do anything to find himself in a position of power. And it turns out that if you're a narcissistic person with no integrity, that seems to be working recently. So we'll see.
Perfect politician. And then lastly, what are you going to miss most about being with this crazy crew?
I'm going to miss the work of the ensemble. Both the relationship that I had with the other actors on the show was incredible, and the writers on the show are out of this world. So I think I am going to miss the dialogue between those two groups, like the work that the ensemble did as performers and the work that we did with the writers.
I couldn't believe it because I went and I auditioned for it and thought I'm never going to get this job. But I got to go in and I read with Julia, which was such a thrill. And I walked out of that thinking like, okay, well, even if this doesn't happen, at least I got to do a scene with Julia Louis-Dreyfus. But then when I got the call, I was so excited / terrified because I was like, oh, now I have to go and do it.
So funny. So many funny people on the show. Is it hard to keep a straight face when filming?
Yeah, it's very hard. And I remember when I was doing my first scene, it was a scene with Julia and Tony in the Oval Office, and my face was it was aching because I wanted to laugh. And I could feel my face vibrating because I was trying not to smile. It was really bad. It was really, really hard. And it never got easier because these people they're the funniest people I've ever worked with. And it's a lot of fun.
Slowly but surely, your character's been coming out of her shell. Now it's the final season. Do we see her full personality this season?
Yeah, I think Fun Marjorie comes out this season, which is still you can't really tell, but she's having fun.
Fun for Marjorie.
Fun for Marjorie, yeah.
Okay. It's been a crazy ride. Talk about staying on. Originally you came on as a guest, right? And then you're like, oh, I guess I'm going to stay. Did you force your way on here, or did they keep you?
Maybe a little of both. The show operated in a very unusual way that maybe most shows do, and I think maybe that the fact that the team that wrote it came from the UK. Right. So they just looked at characters. And it's like pieces of a puzzle, and how am I going to arrange them? And, I became a piece of that puzzle. And then, luckily, there was always a spot left for me in wherever the picture was supposed to be. So,
can you ever predict what your character is going to do next? I can't, because the show is so unpredictable. Do you ever have an idea of what he's going to do next?
No. And I never worried about that. The one thing I did know was that season after season, it never went, and not just me, the show never went in any kind of direction I thought it would go. Yeah. It took a turn. And then we got used to that turn being taken, so we didn't even think about it.
Right, like
Say, what are we up for? Oh, season 4 is this. Okay, season 5 is this. Okay.
I've been talking to a lot of people today. The show is becoming more real life versus the show is becoming very blurred lately. How do you feel about that? And do you think where the show creators were possible, forecasters or shadowers? How did they know it was going to get so crazy?
It's so difficult to remember now, because it's all about perception. Everybody's got a perception of how different things are now, and I don't know that I totally buy that. I think it's out there. That idea is out there. That theory is out there. It's drummed into you from the media and stuff like that. I think there was always an element of absurdity in the show from the beginning. But I would say that, sure, I would say that the climate, if you're talking about a political climate, took a big shift. And even in even before last year's election, and maybe that this year, this show, even though it doesn't borrow from real circumstances or at least real names, okay, they leaned into that and maybe made more commentary than they did maybe possibly at the beginning of when this show began in 2012.
I agree. What are you going to miss most about these people and this show and doing this whole character for you?
Well, what I'll miss most is the process and the people, is being able to be in a large group. I love the scenes where there's 9, 10, 12 people in a scene, all trying to fight their way in and say something and elbow each other out of the way. And the read-throughs, the writers coming up trying to top each other. I'll miss it all.
Lastly, what kind of impact do you think the show will have as a legacy once it's gone?
Well, I hope that it'll be regarded as one of the best comedies that's been on television. I think it deserves at least that amount, at least to be in the conversation. And that's really all you can hope for. We know we got a lot of people that really, really love the show, and hopefully we found some new viewers along the way.
No, I came on as a guest star, and I just refused to leave. I wouldn't leave my hotel room in Baltimore. So no, I was lucky to be considered useful. I came in with Gary as Kent, and it just kind of worked, and the whole the storyline worked. So we were eventually offered regulars, and it was just a very happy moment.
I can imagine there's a lot left on the cutting floor on a show like this. Am I right? Am I wrong? Tell me a little bit about you guys' process over there.
There's not a lot on the cutting room floor, but when we shoot about 50 pages an episode on a half-hour show, and with Armando and with David, they are able to take the show and keep it the whole show and just squeeze it. They just keep squeezing it. So you don't really see what's missing, but they're able to concentrate it. But that's a lot of pages for a half-hour show to shoot, and then you actually see it out there in a half an hour. That's why it comes at you so fast.
What I've learned the most is the power and significance of working with people you love and to do funny stuff. That really packs a punch in a very meaningful way for me.
Do people really need to laugh right now at this time?
I think they do, yeah. Don't you? Yeah.
How has playing Selena influenced the way you operate in the male-dominated industry?
It hasn't influenced it. I mean, I think I have been pretty I've asserted myself in a way that in my career that is important, and but I understand Selena's frustration, and that's certainly helped fuel the character.
Did you cry when you filmed the last scene?
I wept like a baby.
Like snot crying?
The whole deal. I was hysterical.
How do you think your character has evolved in the last season?
How does she evolve?
How has she evolved as a candidate?
She evolves. I'm going to say, without giving anything away, that by the end of the final episode, she is at her very essence.
What are you going to miss about her most?
I'm going to miss playing, well, first of all, what I'm going to miss the most is being with all these wonderful people whom I adore more than I can possibly articulate. That's true. I'm going to miss playing a hyper dysfunctional, narcissistic, undeveloped, ruthless human being.
Last question, guys.
I don't
Do you
think they
feel
have
like
any more.
with
Oh,
I Have Plenty, do
all
you
right.
feel like you got to like let some of your own frustrations and anger and like things you wanted to say out through her?
Well, I don't know if it's things I wanted to say because I don't really think like she does, but frustration, absolutely. Easy to tap into.